When diplomacy failed, humanity chose steel. The Council awaits. The massive crystalline chamber of the Galactic Council hummed with nervous energy. Representatives from 47 different species filled the floating platforms that orbited the central-speaking dais. Each delegate wore their finest ceremonial robes, their bio-translators gleaming with the importance of this moment. The emergency session had been called to address the growing human problem, a species that had advanced too quickly, gained too much influence, and refused to accept their designated place in the galactic hierarchy. Ambassador Zenth of the Altarian Empire adjusted his forearms nervously, his scaled hide rippling with anxiety. For 3 standard months, the Council had debated humanity's fate. Some wanted immediate action, a swift military strike to cripple Earth's growing fleet. Others preferred the subtle approach: economic sanctions, trade embargoes, diplomatic isolation until the humans learned their place. The Earth delegation will arrive within the hour, announced Prime Mediator Vex, her translucent form shimmering with authority. We must present a united front. Humanity must understand that their aggressive expansion ends today. The assembled aliens murmured agreement. For too long, Earth had ignored the unspoken rules that governed galactic society. They refused to limit their population growth, declined to restrict their technological development, and most insulting of all, they demanded equal representation in council matters. The humans had forgotten they were newcomers, barely a century into interstellar travel, while some council species had ruled the stars for millennia. An unexpected guest. The first sign that something was wrong came from the perimeter sensors. Instead of the small diplomatic vessel they expected, the scanners detected something massive approaching the neutral zone. The Council's defensive coordinator, a insectoid being called Crix, scrambled to verify the readings. Prime Mediator. Crix's mandibles clicked nervously. We have a problem. The approaching vessel. It's not a diplomatic ship. Vex's form brightened with irritation. Explain. It's a dreadnought, military class, the largest human vessel we've ever encountered. The chamber fell silent. Diplomatic protocol demanded that all vessels approaching Council space be unarmed civilian craft. Bringing military ships to a peace summit was not just a violation of interstellar law, it was an act of war. Impossible. Ambassador Zenth hissed. Even humans wouldn't be so foolish. But the main viewing screen confirmed their worst fears. The vessel approaching them was a monster of steel and plasma conduits, bristling with weapon arrays that made the Council's defensive platforms look like children's toys. The ship's hull bore scars from countless battles, and its design spoke of a species that had learned warfare through necessity, not choice. The UES Retribution had arrived. Captain Sarah Chen on the bridge of the Retribution, Captain Sarah Chen, stood with her hands clasped behind her back, watching the alien station grow larger through the reinforced viewport. Her weathered face showed no emotion, but those who knew her could see the tension in her shoulders. At 52, Chen had spent more than half her life in space, fighting pirates, exploring unknown systems, and defending Earth's growing colonies from hostile species that viewed humanity as an infestation to be controlled. Captain, her tactical officer Lieutenant Commander Torres reported, "We're receiving multiple hails from the Council station. They're demanding to know our intentions." Chen's dark eyes never left the viewport. Let them wonder for now. How many ships do they have in system? 12 patrol craft, 2 heavy cruisers, and what looks like a battle platform. Nothing that can match our firepower, but together they could cause problems if they coordinate their attack. They won't attack, Chen said quietly. Not yet. They still think this is some kind of diplomatic mistake they can correct with the right words and threats. Her communications officer, Ensign Park, looked up from his console. Captain, Admiral, Harrison sent a final message. He wanted me to read it to you personally. Chen nodded, though she already knew what it would say. Admiral Harrison had made Earth's position clear during their final briefing. Humanity was done being pushed around by species that viewed them as upstart primitives. The time for gentle diplomacy had passed. Captain Chen, Park read aloud, you carry with you the hopes and frustrations of 12 billion humans. We tried their way for 50 years. We sent diplomats, we made concessions, we accepted insults and limitations that no sovereign species should endure. Today we try our way. Show them what happens when a peaceful species is pushed too far. Earth stands behind you. The bridge. Crew absorbed these words in silence. They all knew the weight of their mission. Earth's government had spent months debating this decision. The Hawks wanted immediate military action against the species that had been secretly planning humanity's downfall. The Doves believed negotiation was still possible. In the end, they chose a middle path. Send a message so clear that even the most arrogant alien civilization couldn't misunderstand it. The message delivered Prime Mediator Vex's chamber filled, with panicked chatter as the Retribution settled into orbit above the Council station. The massive ship's presence violated every protocol, every assumption about how civilized species conducted interstellar relations. Yet there it was, its weapon arrays powered but not yet targeting anything specific. "We must respond immediately," demanded Ambassador Zenth. "This is an act of aggression that cannot stand." "Agreed," added Representative Quinn of the Nixari Coalition, her tentacles writhing with agitation. "Activate the defense platforms. Show these humans that their crude intimidation tactics will not work here." But before any action could be taken, the human ship sent a transmission. The main screen flickered to life and Captain Sarah Chen appeared before the assembled council. She wore a simple military uniform, no ceremonial decorations or diplomatic finery. Her expression was calm but utterly unyielding. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," she began, her voice carrying clearly through the translation systems. "I am Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earthship Retribution. I bring greetings from Earth and humanity." "This is highly irregular," Prime Mediator Vex interrupted, her form pulsing with authority. "Diplomatic protocol requires—" "Protocol," Chen cut her off smoothly, "is what we followed for 50 years while you debated our right to exist as equals. Today, we're trying something different." The chamber erupted in outraged voices, but Chen continued speaking, her words cutting through the chaos like a laser through metal. "Earth knows about the secret sessions. We know about the proposals to limit our expansion, to cripple our economy, to reduce our species to a client state serving your established powers. We know some of you have discussed more. Permanent solutions to what you call the human problem." Ambassador Zenth's scales flushed dark with anger. "How dare you make such accusations? The Council operates with complete transparency. The Altarian Empire filed a formal proposal 3 months ago," Chen said, her voice never rising but somehow filling the chamber. Quote, "The human species represents a clear and present danger to galactic stability. Their refusal to accept guidance from more experienced civilizations, combined with their rapid technological advancement and expansionist tendencies, necessitates immediate corrective action." End quote. The silence that followed was deafening. Several council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats while others glared at Zenth with barely concealed fury. The proposal had been classified at the highest levels. The fact that Earth knew about it meant their intelligence capabilities were far more sophisticated than anyone had imagined. The gauntlet. Throne Chen let the implications sink in before continuing. "For 50 years, Earth tried to play by your rules. We sent ambassadors who smiled while you insulted them. We accepted trade agreements that favored your established powers. We limited our expansion to regions you deemed acceptable. We did everything a junior partner in galactic civilization was supposed to do." Her expression hardened. "And in return, you planned our subjugation or extinction." Prime Mediator Vex struggled to regain control of the situation. "Captain Chen, if there have been misunderstandings—" "There have been no misunderstandings," Chen replied. "Only the arrogance of species who assumed that because we're newcomers to the stars, we would remain weak and dependent forever. You forgot something important about humanity. We learn from our mistakes." The main screen shifted to show tactical displays of Earth's growing fleet. Ships that dwarfed anything the Council had in their databases, weapon systems based on principles that their best scientists had dismissed as impossible, defensive technologies that made mockery of their conventional tactics. This is what happens when you push a species that survived ice ages, global wars, and the transformation from a single world to an interstellar civilization in less than 2 centuries, Chen said. You taught us that strength is the only currency that matters in galactic politics. Congratulations. We learned that lesson very well. Representative Quinn's tentacles coiled tightly around her speaking staff. Are you threatening the Council? Chen's expression never changed. I'm informing you that the age of Earth accepting whatever scraps you choose to offer is over. Humanity demands recognition as an equal partner in galactic affairs, with all the rights and responsibilities that entails. And if we refuse? Ambassador Zenth asked, his 4 arms crossed in defiance. Chen's reply was delivered with the quiet confidence of someone holding all the cards. Then you'll discover why Earth chose to send the retribution instead of another delegation of diplomats you could dismiss and ignore. The transmission ended, leaving the council chamber in stunned silence. Outside the station's windows, the aficionado, a massive human dreadnought, hung in space like a promise of violence held in check by the thinnest thread of restraint. The die cast in the hours that followed. The council debated frantically. Some called for immediate military action, arguing that humanity's ultimatum could not stand unchallenged. Others counseled caution, recognizing that the humans had clearly been preparing for this confrontation far longer than anyone had realized. Prime Mediator Vex found herself in an impossible position. The Council's authority rested on the assumption that established powers could dictate terms to newcomers. If humanity successfully defied that principle, it would encourage other species to challenge the existing order. Yet the alternative was potentially catastrophic. The Retribution's capabilities were clearly beyond anything in the Council's current projections. If Earth had one such ship, they likely had others. And if the humans had been monitoring classified Council sessions, their intelligence network was far more extensive than anyone had imagined. Meanwhile, aboard the Retribution, Captain Chen received regular updates from Earth. Public opinion strongly supported her mission, with protest demonstrations in major cities demanding that humanity's government finally stand up to alien intimidation. The colonial worlds were mobilizing their defense forces, while Earth's shipyards worked around the clock to complete additional vessels of the Retribution class. Captain, Lieutenant Commander Torres reported, long-range sensors are detecting movement from the Altarian home fleet. Looks like they're mobilizing for military action. Chen nodded grimly. She had hoped the show of force would be sufficient to bring the Council to the negotiating table as equals, but it seemed some species required more direct education about humanity's new position in the galactic hierarchy. Signal Earth Command, she ordered. Tell them the Council appears to be choosing the hard way. Request immediate deployment of the Second Fleet to our position. As her crew prepared for what might become the first interstellar war in galactic history, Captain Sarah Chen reflected on the path that had brought them to this moment. Earth had tried diplomacy, compromise, and patient negotiation for 5 decades. Those approaches had earned them nothing but contempt and secret plans for their destruction. Now it was time to try something different. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's greatest strength had never been their diplomacy or their willingness to compromise. It was their absolute refusal to surrender in the face of extinction, no matter how hopeless the odds appeared. The first part of humanity's message had been delivered. Whether the galaxy chose to listen or force Earth to deliver the rest would determine the future of interstellar civilization itself. A galaxy learns to fear. Human resolve. The War Council convenes. 3 days after the Retribution's arrival, the Galactic Council's emergency war session convened in the deepest levels of their station. The chamber chosen for this meeting had no windows, no ceremonial decorations, and no provisions for public observation. This was where the galaxy's oldest civilizations made decisions that shaped the fate of entire species. Prime Mediator Vex's translucent form flickered with barely controlled energy as she addressed the assembled War Council. Representatives from the 12 most powerful species sat around a holographic display showing military assets throughout the galaxy. The numbers were impressive. Thousands of ships, defensive platforms that could crack planets, and weapon technologies refined over millennia of interstellar warfare. The human ultimatum expires in 18 hours, Vex announced. If we capitulate to their demands, we legitimize the principle that any species with sufficient military strength can dictate terms to the Council. This cannot be allowed to stand. Ambassador, Zenth of the Altarian Empire leaned forward, his scaled features sharp with determination. My fleet is already mobilizing. The Altarian 7th Battle Group will arrive within 12 hours. 36 heavy cruisers and their escort vessels. More than enough to deal with a single human ship, no matter how impressive its specifications appear. General Korthak of the Draconian military caste nodded his massive head in agreement. The humans have made a critical error. They assume that because they've built one powerful ship, they can intimidate civilizations that have ruled the stars since before their species discovered fire. My warriors are eager to correct this misconception. But not everyone in the War Council shared their confidence. Admiral Nexus of the Cetacean Collective raised a tentacle in caution. We should consider the implications of the humans' intelligence, capabilities. They knew about classified proposals that were discussed in closed sessions. If their information network is that sophisticated, they may know more about our military capabilities than we know about theirs. Representative Thex of the Silicon Hegemony's crystalline form chimed with agreement. The human ship's design incorporates technologies we don't fully understand. Their power generation systems, their armor composition, even their weapon arrays, follow principles that our best scientists cannot explain. Underestimating them may prove costly. Ambassador Zenth's forearms gestured dismissively. Exotic technology means nothing without the experience to use it effectively. Humans have been in space for barely a century. They've fought a few skirmishes, with pirates and colonial disputes. They have no experience with true interstellar warfare against coordinated fleet actions. As the debate continued, none of the council members noticed the small maintenance drone working on the chamber's environmental systems. The device appeared identical to thousands of others throughout the station, performing routine tasks that kept the massive structure operational. But this particular drone carried additional equipment, sophisticated recording devices that had been feeding every word of the Council's secret deliberations directly to the Retribution's intelligence. Officers, the human response. Captain Chen stood in her ready room, reviewing the intelligence report streaming in from Earth's network of operatives throughout Council space. The scope of the information was staggering. Military deployment schedules, battle plans, even personal communications between enemy commanders discussing their expectations for the coming conflict. They still don't understand, her intelligence officer Commander Hayes reported. The War Council is treating this like a conventional military engagement. They're planning to overwhelm us with superior numbers and firepower. Chen's expression remained impassive, but those who knew her could see the slight tightening around her eyes that indicated deep thought. Show me their fleet compositions. The holographic display shifted to show enemy force deployments converging on their position. It was an impressive sight, enough firepower to level a planet's surface or crack a moon in half. Under conventional military doctrine, the Retribution would be hopelessly outmatched. Estimated time to engagement? Chen asked. The Altarian 7th Battle Group will arrive first, 11 hours, 47 minutes. The Draconian Heavy Assault fleet follows 6 hours later. After that, reinforcements from 8 other species, including the Council's own defensive fleet. Chen nodded and activated her communication console. Get me Admiral Harrison on priority channel. The secure connection established quickly, showing Admiral Harrison in Earth Defense Command's war room. Behind him, displays showed the location of every Earth vessel in space, along with tactical projections that made clear just how desperate humanity's situation appeared to outside observers. Sarah. Harrison's weathered face showed the strain of the past few days. Please tell me you have good news. They're coming, Admiral. Everything we expected, and more. The intelligence was accurate. They view this as an opportunity to crush humanity's growing influence permanently. Harrison's expression darkened. Fleet deployment? Initiate Protocol 7, Chen said quietly. Full authorization. For a moment, Harrison hesitated. Protocol 7 represented humanity's most closely guarded secret, the true extent of Earth's military capabilities, hidden behind decades of carefully maintained deception. Once revealed, there would be no going back to the shadows. Confirmed, he finally said. Protocol 7 is active. God help us all. The revelation as alien fleets converged on the Council station, Captain Chen prepared to deliver humanity's second message to the galaxy. This one would not rely on words or diplomatic posturing. This would be a demonstration that would reshape interstellar politics forever. All hands battle stations, she announced over the ship's communication system. This is not a drill. Prepare for combat operations. The Retribution's massive bulk shifted as its weapon systems powered up to full combat readiness. Energy readings spiked across the electromagnetic spectrum as systems that had never been revealed to alien observation came online. The ship's hull began to shimmer with an energy field that made targeting sensors throughout the system scream warnings at their operators. Prime Mediator Vex watched from the Council station's command center as her sensors tried to make sense of what they were detecting. This is impossible, she whispered. No single ship can generate that much power. But the impossible was about to become routine. As the first wave of alien ships dropped out of hyperspace, they found themselves facing not just the retribution, but the revelation of humanity's true capabilities. The space around the Council station filled with the sudden appearance of 20 additional human vessels, ships that had been hiding in perfect stealth for 3 days, undetectable to even the Council's most sophisticated sensors. The second fleet had not been summoned. It had been there all along, waiting for this moment. Admiral Zenth's confident voice crackled over the communication channels. Human vessels, you are outnumbered 3-1. Surrender now and your crews will be treated according to interstellar law. Captain Chen's response was broadcast on all frequencies, ensuring that every ship in the system would hear her words clearly. Admiral Zenth, you are correct that we are outnumbered. However, you have made a critical error in your calculations. The main display aboard the Retribution showed tactical readouts that made her bridge crew smile grimly. Earth's intelligence services had been far busier than anyone suspected. You assumed that because humanity appeared weak, we actually were weak, Chen continued. You forgot that humans have always been very good at appearing vulnerable, right? Up until the moment we strike. The demonstration what followed was not a battle in any conventional sense. It was a systematic demonstration of technological superiority so complete that it left enemy commanders speechless. The Altarian heavy cruisers opened fire first, their plasma cannons and particle beams converging on the Retribution with enough force to vaporize a small moon. The energy strikes hit Chen's ship and simply disappeared, absorbed by defensive systems that operated on principles alien science couldn't explain. In response, the human ships fired once each, single beam weapons that passed through enemy shields as if they didn't exist, disabling ships without destroying them, leaving their crews alive but completely helpless. Impossible, General Korthak snarled from his flagship. No weapons system can bypass quantum shielding. His answer came in the form of his own ship's systems shutting down one by one as human boarding pods attached to his hull. The pods hadn't been fired from the human ships. They had materialized directly from hyperspace, using transportation technology that made mockery of conventional defensive tactics. Aboard the Retribution, Chen watched as her Marines secured enemy vessels with almost contemptuous ease. The aliens had trained for warfare using familiar principles: ship-to-ship combat, boarding actions through airlocks, electronic warfare using quantum encryption. They had no defense against humans who had learned to bend space-time itself to military purposes. Status report, she ordered. 73 enemy vessels disabled, Commander Torres reported. 0 casualties on our side. Enemy crews are alive but contained. Their command structure is completely disrupted. On the Council station, Prime Mediator Vex stared at displays showing her once mighty fleet reduced to helpless hulks in a matter of minutes. The humans hadn't even damaged the ships beyond repair. They had simply demonstrated that resistance was futile. The price of arrogance, Captain Chen's final transmission to the Council, was delivered from the bridge of Admiral Zenth's captured flagship. The proud Altarian commander sat in restraints, his forearms bound, his scales pale with shock and defeat. Honored members of the Galactic Council, Chen began, her voice carrying the weight of absolute authority. You have witnessed the price of underestimating humanity. For 50 years, we allowed you to believe we were weak because it served our interest to appear so. While you grew complacent in your power, we prepared for the day you would reveal your true intentions. The communication was being broadcast throughout the galaxy, carried by quantum relays to every inhabited system. Billions of beings watched as a single human woman stood among the wreckage of the galaxy's most powerful military forces. Earth did not want this conflict, she continued. We preferred the peace of mutual cooperation, but when you chose to plan our destruction, you forced us to reveal capabilities we had hoped never to use. Prime Mediator Vex found her voice at last. What do you want from us? Chen's expression softened slightly, showing the first hint of the diplomat she might have been in different circumstances. The same thing we wanted 3 days ago. Recognition as equals in galactic affairs. An end to the secret sessions where you debate our right to exist. A seat at the table where decisions affecting all species are made. And if we refuse? Chen gestured to the disabled fleet surrounding them. Admiral Zenth's forces represented the finest military technology 3 different species could deploy. They lasted exactly 17 minutes and 34 seconds. The choice of how this ends is entirely yours. The new order in the days that followed. The galaxy watched as humanity demonstrated a truth that would reshape interstellar civilization. Sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one who lets you think you're winning until it's too late to change course. The secret files Earth released showed decades of planning by established powers to keep newer species subordinate and dependent. The military demonstration had proved that at least one of those newer species had been preparing for exactly this contingency. Ambassador Zenth, released but forever changed by his experience, became an unexpected advocate for humanity's position. They could have destroyed us, he told the reformed council sessions. Instead, they disabled our ships and preserved our lives. This is not the behavior of a species seeking conquest. It is the response of people who have been pushed too far. The CU, Galactic Council's structure underwent fundamental changes. Humanity took its place as an equal partner in galactic governance, with voting rights proportional to their growing influence and capabilities. The secret sessions ended, replaced by transparent proceedings that all member species could observe. But perhaps the most significant change was philosophical. The galaxy had learned that appearances could be deceiving, that quiet species might possess unexpected depths, and that the greatest mistake any civilization could make was assuming that because someone chose peace, they were incapable of war. Captain Sarah Chen returned to Earth as a hero, but she knew the real victory belonged to every human who had worked tirelessly to prepare for this moment. Diplomats who had endured decades of insults while gathering intelligence. Scientists who had developed technologies beyond alien comprehension. Military personnel who had trained in secret for a war they hoped would never come. The galaxy had expected diplomats and received a warship of terror. But in the end, they discovered something far more dangerous than human military might. They encountered human determination, the absolute refusal of a species to accept extinction quietly. Earth had sent its message, and the galaxy had received it clearly. Humanity would never again be dismissed as primitive newcomers to be managed and controlled. They had taken their place among the stars not as supplicants begging for recognition, but as equals who had earned respect through strength, wisdom, and the courage to stand up to those who would destroy them. The age of human subservience was, for the age of human leadership in galactic affairs had begun.